Thank you for joining us on Moto-Chronicles with the legendary Harley-Davidson collector Patsy AIELLO of Rochelle. Today we're going to take a look at his amazing collection. Enjoy. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe.
Alright, so this is my 47 EL Knucklehead. This is, the Knucklehead is the bike that everybody wants. You know, it's the first overhead valve motor with a recirculating oil system. I've had this thing for the longest, since 79. You know, this is my dip into antique bikes. And it's a great runner. I've had this thing everywhere, friggin' Maine, everywhere. This is my road ride bike right here. But I mean, I've taken other ones, but this is a great running bike. No problems at all. Flight red, you know. I got a sidecar with it. So with the sidecar, I got another transmission that's in it with reverse. You know, when my kids were young, you know, I had it attached, and you know, I took the kids everywhere with it. So when I took it back off, you know, I changed the engine sprocket, changed the tranny. So that stuff is in the car. So if I go to put it back on, you know, it would be here and ready to go. Here, if you want to walk over here, Chris. See, if you look over here, this is the attachment right here. That is the loop that connects it, that and that down here. This is the other loop that connects the sidecar. So, yeah, it's a good running bike. I pulled it.
How did you come about this bike?
Well, shit, way back in the late 70s, we were going, there was a swap meet in Connecticut, Terryville, the old drive-in theater.
Right.
We used to go there every year, you know, they'd have it like twice a year, we'd go there on swap meets. And there was a guy that had a bunch of bikes, you know, and the guy had a bunch of Panheads there for sale. I wanted a knuckle. So he says, oh, I got a knuckle back at the house. That was from Massachusetts. So I says, well, I'm interested in the knuckle, you know. So made arrangements. I went, met him at his house. He had the bike. This bike was like olive. It wasn't even an olive green. It was a really dark colored green. But, you know, it ran. We went for a ride. And he had pieces of sidecar with it. So we made a deal, you know. I went up with my buddy Murph with his truck, and I got the bike, and I got parts of the sidecar. He had a frame, you know, he had some other stuff that went with it.
Oh, wow, that goes with this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I concentrated on the bike and, you know, got it done. And then after I finished doing the bike, then I got the sidecar. You know, I started working on the sidecar, and that was an adventure in itself, getting the tub, you know, restoring it. I had no fender. Me and Satch made that fender, actually, because they didn't repop sidecar fenders in those days. So we took two Cervicar fenders, cut them down the middle, and made a fender for it. You know, I was able to find this brace.
It looks like it's original.
Yeah, we found the brace, so we had something to work with. We took a Cervicar fender, cut it down the middle, put it together, and we made the fender for it. And look at these tail gunner lights. These tail gunner lights are bitching, man. And those are original tail gunner lights.
And then you got the accents around here.
Yep. And these are original bags. See, they have the logo here, because the repops don't have the logo. And this oil filter is, this was before they came out with the hanger. See, the hanger goes in here. You know, the Panhead, the hanger for the oil filter goes in there, but on these years, they use this for a stud.
Right.
So after the Panhead's different frame, they still had the hole there, and they used the hole for the hanger for the oil filter. So anyway, fast forward 30 years, I'm at Rhinebeck, right? So we're across the street in the mobile station with this bike. So I go there, you know, I'm in the mobile station, went there to get some beers. I come out, I see this guy down on his knees looking at the bike. I said, hey, what's up? You know, I start talking to the guy. He says, you know, this was my bike. I said, what? He says, yeah, you bought this bike from me
Get the fuck, that's like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I says, well, how do I know? I mean, it was a completely different color. You know, it was a knucklehead. It didn't look nothing like this. Then the guy, I started talking to him, you know, and he's telling me, you remember I had a falcon? He had a falcon in his apartment, a bird.
Right. You would remember that.
Oh, you remember that? I
Yeah,
said, you're right, because I, you know, how the hell? So it was the same fucking guy, and he said because of the bull neck frame and everything, he recognized the bike. Talk about, you know. So I told my buddy about it, you know, when we went back inside, and he says, "Oh yeah, that guy comes here all the time. He's a professor at the college, you know." He is. I come out, the guy's looking at the VIN number. He remembered the friggin' VIN number, you know. And see, like the bars, these used to have the other bars that came off of here. See, the bars on these things are part of the top tree.
Right.
But then when they're like that, when you had the tank shifter, when you make a turn, friggin' handlebars right into your leg. So that was the first thing I did, was change those. So I got another set of bars. This top tree is an actual set of bars where they cut it off, and they made just a tree, and then you put the dog bone risers on it, and you put these Flanders bars. It was a look.
Cool.
You know, it was a look. So
this is my 74 Sporty XLCH, 1000 cc's, kickstart and electric. It came with electric. I put the Kickstarter on it. It's a pretty custom bike, you know. The guy fixed it up nice. I have to say, I didn't do much work when I got it. It was a basket case, but you know, it's got a little bit of a rake, custom back fender with a tombstone tail light. It had a fiberglass front fender, custom paint. You know, it's a very nice looking bike, you know, and it runs great.
So when he first told me about it, it's a 74. So I had the 62, and I knew that in 75, they switched the shifter over. So 74, the shifter should have been on the right side. I didn't want the shifter on the right side. I said, no, I don't want it, you know. So I said, well, come look at it, look at it. I look at it, freaking shifter is on the right. It's a 74.
Yeah.
So evidently, they swapped out the motor. It's got a 77 lower end.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to buy it. Otherwise, I didn't even want it because like I said, I had the 62, which I got rid of because I couldn't get used to the shifter being on the wrong. I almost crashed it. I was having problems with the kicker on this thing because I put a kicker on it, and the kicker cover kept cracking on me. I put like 2 covers on it, it would crack on me. I didn't know why it was cracking. So I got in touch with the guy out in California. I showed him pictures of it. And he looked at it. He says, you know what? He says, you don't have a 74. At that point, I didn't know it was I thought it was a 74 because I was getting parts for a 74. He told me it's a 77 lower end.
Oh.
So in the 77, they came out with a bracket that went behind it that reinforced the kicker cover.
Right.
And that's what fixed it.
Oh, this is the 31 VL, Bob Squire's, Antique Bob's old bike. It's a Depression era. Flathead VL 74 1200, total loss oiling system. It's a good running bike. You know, I've had it apart a few times. He used to have this bike. After he built it, he put it on a trailer, and he had a 31 Model A that he used to pull it with. And wherever he went, he had the Model A, and he had this thing attached to the trailer. When I bought it, it was attached to the trailer. I don't think he rode this thing. I think he just pulled it around with the trailer. When I got it, the gas tank was like pieces of cardboard in there, you know, because there was coating in it, but the coating pulled away. So he hadn't had gas in this thing. So when I got it, I had to strip the tank, you know, it ate the stickers. So I went over the bike, I rode it. I mean, I imagine when he finished it, he got it running, but after that, he never really rode the bike. So when I got it, I had to, you know, get it roadworthy and, you know, ride it. So this is it. This is a very nice running bike. I just did the training on it, and runs great. No problems at all.
Now, in 31, when they came out with this bike, this thing was like over $300. Oh, so you could buy a Model T for less money than you can buy this bike. Nobody had money, so there wasn't that many of these. I think there was like 4,000 made. There was none of these bikes around. So this was a crude bike for its time. You know, they didn't come out with recirculating oil systems till the 36 Knucklehead. This motor was the first recirculating oil system. This is what they call a total loss system. It has an oil pump that feeds the crankshaft, and it has a hand pump that pressurizes the crank. But there's no return back to the oil tank. The oil tank is up here. So in other words, you never change the oil on this thing because the oil never returns to the tank. What happens is it stays in the lower end, and there's a little valve that you push down and lock underneath the cylinder, and it goes all the way through to the bottom, and it dumps the oil on the road. So you do that. If that happens, you pull over the side of the road, you do that, and it dumps the oil out of the lower end. Close the valve back up. Give it like 2 pumps of the hand pump, and you keep moving.
Wow.
You just got to make sure you always got oil in the tank.
Okay, so this is my 76 Shovelhead FXE SuperGlide. Everybody thinks it's a Sportster because it's got the single tank. But this was Willie G's creation back in '71, was to put a Sportster front end on an FL frame and called it the SuperGlide. You know, the first when they came out, they were the night train with the boat tail on it, you know. Great running bike. Rode this bike all the way to Vermont, 1200, you know. Basic. This is my bar hopper right here. Great bike, man. Great bike. Okay, so this is my 86 Softail, Heritage Softail. This 86 was the first year for the Heritage Softail. 85 was the first year for the Softail, and those had a 4-speed tranny. Then 86, they introduced the Heritage Softail. This is the only way it came, the only color it came in. This is the one that Malcolm Forbes had that big deal about, made an air balloon out of it and shit. 1 year seat. Only 2 options that they had was the 2-in-1 exhaust and these saddlebags, which are original. And this thing, in my opinion, this Evo motor is the best motor Harley ever made. This thing is like a friggin' refrigerator. I mean, when I first got it, I took the heads off. I changed the studs because they had problems with the early ones. But other than that, friggin' top-notch bike, man. You can't beat an Evo. You cannot beat an Evo. Okay, so this is the 14 Street Glide. This is the twin cam motor. Okay, 103. This friggin' bike spoiled me, man. I go to Lake George with this thing. I stop once to take a leak. 6-gallon gas tank. Radio, ABS, friggin' windshield. You don't get tired. Wind don't hit you. This is the reason why I put this radio on my Heritage, because I had the radio on here. This thing is like a friggin' luxury liner right here, man. It spoiled me. It spoiled me. One thing I gotta say, it's a big friggin' bike. I mean, you look at the Knucklehead next to this thing. The Knucklehead's like a little friggin' bicycle. You know, there's no weight to it. You know, this thing is massive. It really is massive. It's a big bike, but on the road, you can't beat this thing, man. You cruising along, 100 miles an hour. No idea you're doing 100, you know, because it just feels so friggin' smooth. It's unbelievable, you know. So this is the Panhead. This is a 54 FLE. 54 being the anniversary year for Harley, golden anniversary. So the color is glacier blue. It was the blue for the year. I pretty much got the color sight unseen. I just wanted a blue bike. I got black, I got red, so I like blue. So this is the blue. I know it looks like a powder blue, but it is what it is. Original bags. It had a tank shifter. The gas tank up there has got the tank shifter on it in case I wanted to go back. I want to be able to go back, so I had switched it over, changed the top of the tranny, and got the mouse trap on it. And so the 54 had just the script writing without the writing underneath. The earlier ones had the script underneath there, and the 54 has the single sergeant stripe in the back. 54 was more like the Knucklehead because after 55 they changed the motor around. There was like 3 motors. This was the early, then they had a mid, and then they had the late. The 65 was by itself, but like a 62 went up with the outside oilers. Those were the second generation Panheads. Yeah, I put the tank. Got rid of the tank shifter. I got 2 bikes out there with tank shifters, so I put the mouse trap on it. And easier to shift. Less work to shift it. Smoother and stuff. More modern, I guess. But converted it to 12 volts. It's a great running bike. Had it on a road ride last year up in Greenfield, Mass. Ran great, no problems at all. That's about it. You know?
Yeah, so this is 54. 54 was a crazy year for the Panhead. Now you see this? A 54 came with 3 different frames. You could get a 54, depending on when it was built. A 54 had 3 different frames, all because of that Jubilee horn. That horn right there threw this bike into a friggin' frenzy. Before, the horn used to be mounted over here.
Right.
So in 54, they came out with this Jubilee horn.
That's nice.
This threw everything out of whack because they had to get rid of the flats.
Right.
So you could get, this was an early one, which is like this. The later ones, you had a mid-year, which had 2, the flats were still here for the horn, and then they went to a straight leg.
Right.
This is a later one. The
So
early
the
one.
wishbone would be this curve in the frame.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
See the way the frames
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, yeah.
They had the straight leg ones. The 53 was a straight leg. And then the late 54, which is this is the late, because the mid-year was a straight, was a straight leg with flats.
Do you know what this,
horn.
what the deluxe OHV, what
Overhead valve.
overhead valve, that's
Right.
that what that is?
Yeah, because before that you had the flathead, you know, which is a side valve.
And it's nice little treatments here that you did with the
Yeah.
color coordinated kickstart.
Yep.
You
Yep.
did that on that other bike in there, and now, wow, this is really nice, man.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about this? There's a few 1-year items only on this thing. The friggin' the speedometer is a 1-year speedometer. It's a 1-year speedometer, okay? And I'm going to show you why. You see the speedo? You see on the odom on the trip set that
Yes.
last digit is
Yeah,
black and red.
Yes.
That's the 1 year because it's black.
No.
Yeah, yeah. All the other ones it's white, but the 54 they made it black with red writing on it. Don't ask me why, but they did.
Man, what a beautiful bike.
Yeah, it is a nice bike.
All right.
This completes the collection, you know, for now, until I find another one.
you buy another one.
Until I find another one. Actually, I'm looking at a little flatty 45 that I'm working on.
All right.
Working on getting, so that'll be probably the next project when I get that. But yeah, this is it.
Thanks for taking the time.
All right, man. All right. Right on.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 of the Patsy AIELLO interview. Unbelievable. The motorcycles were phenomenal. The information that he has, it's like getting a history lesson on Harley-Davidsons. Anyway, I'm so glad you were able to join us today for this conclusion. Please stay tuned for the next one. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.